So, what if what your child eats could calm or worsen their ADHD or autism symptoms? Hi, I'm Dr. Roseanne, and today we're diving into one of my most favorite topics to talk about, and that is what you eat and how it can improve your brain health and how it affects kids that have wired uniquely brains like autism, ADHD, or other different types of brains, or maybe you have a child who's struggling with clinical levels of anxiety, OCD, doesn't matter when you're eating a healthy diet, it makes a difference in your brain. So, we're going to talk about the impact of what you eat. And we're going to talk about what you should and shouldn't eat and how that affects the nervous system, neurotransmitters, inflammation, gut brain connection. And this is such an important topic. And I know you hear it a lot, but what you do eat makes a difference. And I know it's hard. And many of us have kids who are restrictive eaters. Maybe they have RFID, maybe they're picky eaters, but something is getting in the way of them getting nutrition. So I hear you, I feel you. Start somewhere, right? Put your foot in the pool, dip it in there, and just give yourself some grace. Give your child some grace. But nutrition is hugely impactful, especially when you have a wired uniquely brain like ADHD or autism. And I can tell you, I've worked with thousands of kids with ADHD and autism. And when parents do this, as hard as this is, and sometimes it can be really hard for kids too, of course, they never regret it, right? Because it's that impactful. So let's talk about the impact of diet. And so I can help you understand that role of diet in the wired uniquely brain, right? So, first of all, it impacts the nervous system, right? So when we're eating foods that are inflammatory, don't support neurotransmitter function, create crashes, sugar rushes, we're actually causing nervous system dysregulation. And when that happens, you know what happens to your kid. On the understimulated side, they're lacking focus. They might show anxiety. On the overstimulated side, they might be full of rage, they might be sensory defensive. All of those behaviors are combinations of both, right? So, what you eat affects your nervous system regulation. So, as I always say, instead of being overwhelmed by these things, be empowered that what you can provide at home can help, right? We all know we wish schools had better nutrition. My cousins were here from Italy and they were telling me like what the kids have, like the courses they have. Well, for the first course and the second course, they're like, well, it's not as good as we make. And I'm listening to what they eat. They're like, they have a pasta or a rice. They have a chicken and then they might have broccoli and, then they have fruit. And I'm thinking, wow, and they're vastly different. The kids are just not as exposed to the same things. And of course, they don't use glyphosate on their wheat in the same way. So it helps to regulate the nervous system. And again, we're going to talk about what foods support that, right? So the other thing that is hugely impactful is the gut brain connection. So you hear about the gut brain connection, you see the commercials for the yogurt, but do you really know what it means? Most people don't, and that's okay. That's why I'm here to tell you about it. So when it comes to the gut brain connection, why is it important? Well, there is a connection between your gut and your brain. And so in your gut, you are producing neurotransmitters that help the brain to work, and help your kid to pay attention and focus and mood, all of these things. Serotonin is one of our most important neurotransmitters. And in terms of kids with ADHD, anxiety, autism, and it's almost exclusively created there. In order to have a healthy microbiome, right, good gut health, we need a diversity of bacteria, diversity of flora. And one of the easiest ways to do it, I know you think I'm going to say take a probiotic, but it's actually what you eat and having a variety of healthy fats, um, fiber, different types of foods and vegetables that have diversity, right? So in order to have diversity of bacteria, you can't just eat 5 things, right? And again, don't feel ashamed. This is knowledge. If your kid's, a super restrictive eater, it's pretty regular. All the kids that wind up coming to me or their parents are dysregulation solution. And if you want to learn more about our programs, take our solution matcher, drroseanne.com/help. It's just going to match you to the right solution and you're going to get great information via email. But in our dysregulation solution, a lot of our parents are struggling with picky eaters. And, we even created a special section on it because it's hard, right? So it helps to support the gut brain connection when you're eating the proper foods. The other big thing, eating a variety of foods and really following an anti-inflammatory diet is it reduces inflammation, right? We know, even through postmortem studies with individuals with autism, that 76% of individuals with autism have neuroinflammation. So inflammation is a real threat to the brains of everybody. But our kids, I mean, gosh, you guys, when I do these brain maps, they all have inflammation. It's quite frightening, right? We're just exposed to, through our foods, through our environments, just a lot of toxins. And we're having genetic variants that are interfering with how we're detoxifying. So foods, not only putting the right foods in help reduce inflammation, but it actually can support the detoxification process, which is another big part. Our kids with autism and ADHD and other issues that wire differently, they tend to have more genetic variants. And a research study recently came out that said that individuals with autism, they often have what we call a stacking of variants. They're not related, but they have a lot of variants, and together they tend to compound and work and interfere with our body's ability to do a variety of things and impact brain functioning and behavioral functioning in kids, right? So what are foods, right? So anti-inflammatory diet, most research diet in mental health. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I've done a whole episode on it. It's in my book. It's going to be okay if I can point to the right direction. I mean, a Mediterranean diet is the most studied of all the anti-inflammatory diet. I mean, it just shows that your attention is better, your mood is better. There's so many things that it does, right? And again, you can make these shifts. And I can tell you, I grew up with an anti-inflammatory diet as a child of Italian immigrants. And, it does make a huge difference, right? And again, be kind to yourself, start slow and start swapping out. So what do we want to include? So one of the most important things for an ADD brain and autism brain, because we know through research they have less of, is the omegas. So our omega-3 helps support the brain. And you can get it through food, fish, cold water fish, flaxseed, chia seeds, walnuts, right? And you may or may not be able to get those things in. You can always supplement with omegas, and you want to get a real high quality one. And if you're doing a straight liquid, make sure you're using it and you're going through it in a timely manner because it can go rancid, right? So that's important. And depending on your kid, some of them are really tasty, by the way. Barcleans makes a great one, or Naturals makes another one. Really tasteful, designs for health, all high quality. And you get them often at your health food store. So, and we know that omegas, again, not only improve attention, but they also improve mood, right? And our big emotion reactive kids needs as much support. So, of course, I'm going to say fruits and veggies. Fruits and veggies are just power packed with nutrients. And of all the things that I see kids being weak in, it's probably this. And it may be the biggest hill to climb, right? And you might be able to add in whole grains more easily. So brown rice, quinoa, oats, that's a staple in an anti-inflammatory diet. Really getting good amounts of high quality whole grains, right? And proteins. Proteins really as healthy fats. I talk about it a lot for mental health. It can have a really quick, dramatic impact when you're getting good, healthy fats. What are those? Avocados, eggs, hummus, smoked salmon, avocado oil, all of these, olive oil, and proteins, right? So, they can be even fatty proteins like lamb and beef, as well as chicken. Those things stabilize the blood sugar. Fats support the gut, they support reducing inflammation, healthy fats, and neurotransmitter. They help with neurotransmitter communications and quite dramatically. So, what should we limit, right? So, first, I'm going to talk to you about sugar and refined carbs. I mean, this is stuff where anything that you're seeing that's white, you know, white breads, really highly processed foods. This is just not great. We know that it dramatically increases blood sugar and then you have a crash, right? Um, and having it as a staple in your diet is not going to do anything. They're calorie fillers with no nutrients, right? So, yeah, having ice cream on a special occasion, but people have it every night. That's just not going to help your child. And, people will say to me, but they need calories. But if that's all they're getting, that's all they're going to want. And it's hard to break those cycles, but it's important, right? We always want to avoid artificial sweeteners, additives, preservatives. Our kids are very sensitive to these things, partially because they have genetic variants, right, that interfere with detoxification. And they're in processed foods, right? My husband, when he married me, he would joke with my mother that he was getting spaghetti, he was eating SpaghettiOs, and my mother would be like, "Oh, Chris, what do you mean you have SpaghettiOs?" And I remember one time I was like, I must have been a teenager, and I had SpaghettiOs or something. I literally instantly vomited because of the preservatives. I couldn't tolerate preservatives, and I'm just a poor detoxifier, but also it's like having a Ferrari and putting in the cheap gas. I just can't handle the junk. I need really good stuff, and your body gets really acclimated to high quality foods. I think those of you who already are really healthy eaters know exactly what I'm talking about. I hope you do. So really important, very, very activating for the nervous system, breaks down good gut flora. It's not going to support healthy neurotransmitter functions. And it's in a lot of stuff. If you're avoiding processed foods, then you're in good shape, right? But it sneaks in there. So, anti-inflammatory diet is very reduced, if not completely eliminating, in dairy and gluten. I mean, dairy is a known agitator of behavior. Many kids, like my Max, it's linked to anger, pain, and gluten in America is full of glyphosate. So, unless you're getting gluten from Italy and Europe, New Zealand, Australia, you're going to be having poison. And a lot of our kids, they might not be sensitive to gluten, but they actually have a genetic variant that they can't easily process out poison and toxins. And that is pesticides, and it's just full of pesticides. And that is one of the biggest reasons I see kids struggle, right? And then lastly, you want to really reduce trans fatty acids. And snuck into a lot of things, but it's in things like margarine and other processed kind of fat kind of things. And again, very snacky kind of foods and, lesser quality foods. It can even be in those chicken nuggets you're getting. So I know this isn't easy, but I want you to flip your script and thinking about what can I add? Right? So, what's the greatest offender? And start with removing your greatest offender. Maybe it's the dairy, right? Maybe it's, that your kid only eats white bread and, you're swapping it out with a healthier version. But don't get overwhelmed. Start with the one thing, stick with it for at least 30 days. You're not going to be able to tell. And then just keep adding and keep swapping out. And if you're looking for more support and just how to do this is what our dysregulation solution is all about. You get access to me and my awesome people, and you get quick, easy things to do when you can go to drroseanne.com/help and take the solution matcher, and it's going to match you to exactly where you need to be.